The engines whispered beneath the wings, a deep, rhythmic hum that blended into the soft lullaby of night. The aircraft cruised smoothly through the ink-dark sky, 30,000 feet above the restless Atlantic. Inside the cabin, everything was peaceful, almost dreamlike. Passengers slept beneath dim lights, faces relaxed, headphones loosely hanging. The air smelled faintly of coffee and recycled air. A few passengers read quietly, pages turning with the patience of long travel. Others stared at glowing screens or drifted into half-dreams as clouds rolled silently below. It was the kind of flight that felt timeless, safe, predictable, until it wasn't. A sudden crackle cut through the intercom, sharp and unexpected, slicing through the calm. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the pilot's trembling voice, "if there are any combat pilots on board, please come forward immediately." For a moment, silence. The kind that stretches and tightens the air. Then confusion rippled through the cabin, murmurs, shifting seats, anxious eyes glancing toward the cockpit. A flight attendant froze mid-step, the tray in her hands rattling. People whispered, exchanging uncertain looks. Something had gone terribly wrong, though no one yet knew what. In row 10, a woman stirred. Alina Carter, 29 years old, traveling alone. Jeans, hoodie, hair tied loosely, back just another face among strangers. But under that quiet exterior lived a past heavy with loss and discipline. 2 years ago, she had been one of the best. A fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force. Call sign, Viper. She'd flown through fire and fear, twisting through lightning storms and battle skies where survival was measured in seconds. Her record was flawless, until one mission changed everything. A mission that left her grounded not by the military, but by her own guilt. She had sworn never to fly again, never to touch the controls that once felt like an extension of her own heartbeat. And yet, as the captain's shaken words echoed in her ears, she felt the old instincts stir, the muscle memory, the command presence, the need to act when others froze. Her hand unclasped the seatbelt with a soft metallic click. Heads turned. A child whispered to her mother. A man across the aisle frowned. But Alina didn't hesitate. She stood, steady and silent, moving down the narrow aisle as the hum of whispers followed her. Is she a pilot? What's happening? Why would the captain ask for that? When she reached the cockpit door, the lead flight attendant moved to stop her, eyes wide with fear. But something in Alina's gaze, calm, focused, unshakable, made her step aside. The door opened, and Alina stepped into chaos. Inside, red lights flashed like alarms in a nightmare. The co-pilot slumped unconscious, his oxygen mask half hanging. The captain was pale, his uniform soaked with sweat, hands shaking over the controls. The plane lurched, shuddering under the assault of violent turbulence. Outside, lightning painted the windows in ghostly flashes. "Who are you?" the captain gasped. "Alina Carter," she said, steady. "Former Air Force, call sign Viper." He blinked, stunned, disbelief flickering in his eyes. "Move," she said sharply, taking command. "I'm taking the right seat." But he didn't argue. She slid into the co-pilot's chair, her hands automatically finding the instruments, her body remembering every motion, every feel. The aircraft felt sluggish, heavy, nothing like the agile fighter jets she once ruled. But flying was still flying. The fundamentals were the same. The storm outside roared like a living creature, and the plane trembled under its fury. Hydraulics failing, the captain rasped, "I can barely keep her level." "Then we do it manually," Alina replied. "Forget the systems. Trust your hands." Her voice was the calm in the storm. Fingers flying, she recalibrated the trim, shifted the thrust, and balanced the aircraft by instinct. It wasn't perfect, but it was control fragile, fleeting but real. Outside, thunder exploded like artillery fire. The plane dipped, passengers screamed, oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Panic swept through the cabin like wildfire. Somewhere a child cried, clutching her mother's arm. "Mommy, is someone saving us?" Yes, someone was. Alina's world narrowed to the cockpit. She no longer heard the cries behind her, no longer saw the lightning outside, only the instruments, the vibrations of the yoke, and the sound of her own breath. Every move she made was precise, deliberate. She had been here before, in darker skies, facing worse odds. This time, there was no mission order, no chain of command, only the quiet duty to save lives. Minutes turned to hours, or what felt like hours. The storm refused to let go. Each gust hit harder than the last. The fuel gauge dipped dangerously low. The captain followed her every instruction now, his faith in her growing with every second that passed. Sweat dripped from his brow, but his voice steadied. Then, through the flashing chaos, Alina saw them teeny specks of light in the darkness. Runway lights. Hope, shining faint and far. She keyed the radio, voice steady as ever. "This is Delta 473. Former USAF pilot at controls. Request emergency clearance for immediate landing." A burst of static answered, then a familiar, crackled voice. "Copy that, Viper. You're cleared to land. We've got you." The words hit like oxygen. Alina guided the aircraft toward the runway, the engine screaming against the wind. Crosswinds battered the wings, but she held firm. Below, passengers gripped hands, whispered prayers, held their breath. "Steady," she whispered to herself. "Easy now, come on. Hold together." The ground rushed up. The landing gear hit once hard. The plane bounced, slammed down again, and skidded across the tarmac. Metal groaned, tires screeched, hearts pounded. Alina fought the yoke with everything she had until the aircraft finally slowed, then stopped. Silence. Then, like a wave breaking, came the sound of relief sobs, laughter, applause, echoing through the cabin. People clutched one another, trembling, crying, alive. The captain turned to her, voice cracking. "You've just saved 300 lives, Alina exhaled, shoulders sinking. "No," she said quietly. "They saved me." For years she had carried the guilt of failure, the lives she couldn't protect, the mission that broke her. But tonight, amid thunder and fear, she had reclaimed what she thought she'd lost. Not just her courage, but her purpose. When she stepped back into the cabin, every pair of eyes followed her. Passengers rose to their feet, applauding, crying openly. The little girl who'd whispered earlier ran forward and hugged her leg, looking up with teary eyes. "Thank you, Angel," she said. Alina knelt beside her, smiling faintly. "No, sweetheart," she whispered. "I'm no angel. Just a pilot doing her job." To everyone on that flight, she was more than a pilot. She was proof that courage doesn't fade, it waits. That night, Alina Carter didn't chase headlines or fame. She simply walked off that plane into the cool night air, a quiet figure against the blinking lights of the runway. Yet for every soul on board, her face, her voice, her calm under fire would never fade from memory. Sometimes heroes don't wear medals. Sometimes they're just weary travelers sitting quietly in seat 10A, waiting for a moment that will ask them to rise. And somewhere high above the Atlantic, fallen pilot had found her wings again.